Hello, guys. Welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. We're back. It's been a little while since we've done one of our live shows with the World Cup. We've had a Christmas break, but we're back and we thought, what better way to kick off 2023's lives than with a 2023 Wishlist show? Because let's be honest, 2022, if we're being brutal, probably wasn't the year that we all hoped for. It was probably a year of near misses, if we're being brutally honest. We had the Spence Crawford thing, which I'm sure will come up, Fury Joshua, but it doesn't matter because 2023 is going to be a better year. I'm an eternal optimist. Yas has got some new snazzy headphones. So, Yas, I'm going to come to you first, mate. What is your number one wish for 2023 in the world of boxing?
I think for me, the number one wish that I've got for boxing in 2023 would probably be I'm very invested into the heavyweight division. So for me, I feel like it's about time and we're well overdue as fans a heavyweight undisputed clash. So if that's going to be Usyk versus Fury, then I'm all in for that. So for me, that's my number one wish for 2023.
Now, you've not shocked me there, to be fair. I think that's going to be pretty high on everybody's list, if we're being brutally honest. But I would agree with you, mate. I think we need to see it. There's lots of talk now. Old Fish Eyes is saying that a contract has been sent, but obviously we've heard that a million times before, so let's not get too excited.
Did Fury give a deadline?
You what? Sorry, mate?
Did Fury give a deadline?
Oh, he's not yet. No, it's but he is working on Derek Chisora 4, which is the fight that Frank Warren wants to see. But we have had some good news on that front today. The IBF have actually reversed their order of Filip Hrgovic as heavyweight and have now accepted that Daniel Dubois with the WBA, which is laughable, but laughable for an entirely different set of reasons. So there isn't a mandatory stopping Fury from facing Usyk, which is great news. Guys, there's a few comments in. Davey's back. Davey, Happy New Year, mate, although we're a bit late.
Yeah, Davey, pal.
Happy New Year.
It's great to have you back. We had a good Christmas, mate. Did you? And make sure that we're all there smashing the like button. Share with your friends. We want to really build this this chat this year. Stephen, a new sub. Thanks for joining us, Stephen, mate. Pleasure to have you on. And guys, let us know in the comments what you guys want to see this year as well. It's not just about us. This is about what you guys want to see. Stephen's gone with Fury's underestimating the size of Usyk is a big mistake. Ray, what do you think about that? Because I'm seeing more and more of that across social media that Fury's underestimating Usyk.
Yeah, I think he's trying to sell the fight. He keeps calling him a blown up middleweight, just the same as he was calling Deontay Wilder a soft punching dosser. I think Tyson Fury knows full well just how good Usyk is. I think he's Sugar Hill isn't going to be drumming into Tyson Fury that this is a walkover. Yes, Tyson Fury will be talking about his size, but Tyson Fury knows just how good, just how skilled Usyk is, just how physically strong Usyk is. He's deceptively strong. I think those earlier fights he had against Chaz Witherspoon and Derek Chisora were I took them as being the way he performed in those two fights. He wouldn't do anything to Anthony Joshua, but I got that severely wrong. I know Joshua's had trouble against smaller opponents, etc., and people with a high level of skill, footwork. He didn't like that. He saw that against Ruiz. This is completely different against Tyson Fury, who's got the skill set which Joshua lacks. So I think he's just saying it. I think he's saying he's trying to build a fight, trying to work up his fans. The same way he says, I'll fight for free, and in the next breath, he wants to fight for $500 million.
No, I don't disagree with you, mate. We've got some more comments. Mickey C's back. Mickey, Happy New Year, mate. Pleasure to have you back. There's been a fair few videos, mate, so feel free to go back and check them out. And I will say, guys, while there's a few of you here, we've got a great interview being released tomorrow with British champion Tommy Frank ahead of his fight with Jay Harris. So definitely check that one out. And we've got a new name here, Adari Pennant. Adari, pleasure to have you on, mate. Mulliganov is a very good heavyweight prospect from Uzbekistan. Ray, have you heard of him? I'm going to be honest, I haven't. I've heard the name, but I can't say any more than that type thing.
No, I haven't, but I'm fully aware of looking at me knowledge of amateur boxing, just how prominent of a nation Uzbekistan's becoming. They've got some very good professionals as well. You've got the likes of MJ Akhmediev as well, comes from Uzbekistan. So there's a transition in many very good, talented professionals, from the amateur scene. So that doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
No, totally. Stephen's back. Boxing is tactics. When you taught to fight, is against small or tall. Boxing is a game of chess. Stephen, that's a good point, mate. And I'm just interested. Obviously, you've raised the valid point there about Fury underestimating the size. What's your predictions for a Fury Usyk fight? And same for everyone else in the chat. Let us know what you think. Mickey's back. Fury's too big, I think. Only way I can see Usyk winning is if he gets a few rounds head start with his movement and Fury has to come out for a KO. That is, while I do think Fury's potentially, obviously Ray disagrees, I do think he's potentially underestimating a little bit. I just think Fury thinks he's been in with tougher in terms of Wilder with the size and everything. But I do think if we get that sort of Fury that we saw in Wilder 2, I think he'll be too much and he'll just smother Usyk. Yes, do you agree with that, or how do you see that one breaking down?
Yeah, well, I feel like it's a very interesting fight because Usyk is probably the only guy who can probably match Tyson or nearabouts enough, as good as him technically. He's very quick, he's very skillful, he's a thinker, and he knows how to up the pace as well in them championship rounds, as we've seen many a time. So I feel as though I feel as though Tyson, he probably win a points decision for me, and I feel like it will just make it ugly and a boring fight because he's fighting someone who's just as skilled as him, and I feel like it will just hug him when he gets in close, etc. But how is he going to deal with Usyk's speed and footwork? Because Usyk, Tyson calls him small, but in my opinion, I think I saw them come like face to face. Usyk does not look that much like he's smaller than him, yes, but he doesn't look as small as Tyson Fury's making him out to look. And on top of that, he's very skilled as well. So how is he going to deal with that?
No, I don't disagree, mate. Stephen's gone. He thinks Usyk will win on points, and he's very confident about it. I like to see a different prediction because, let's be honest, that's what these shows are about. Let's get a bit of debate going. Davey's there back. Don't get me started on Fury, lads. I know my dog Tyson and getting embarrassed shouting on him now. Fury says he even wants a trilogy with McDermott. So, to be fair, nothing would shock me at this point with Tyson Fury and his matchmaking in particular. I think Fury's size is too big and the fact that he uses his bully tactics. Now, I can see it. It's good to see some different chat, but we'll move on because, Ray, I want your number one wish for 2023.
Again, it's going to have to be an undisputed clash, and it's going to have to be at welterweight. Finally, this should be the year we get an answer. Who's going to win between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford? I'm desperate to see that fight this year. It's been long overdue. My concern is either these guys, well, more for Errol Spence rather than Terence Crawford, may not be around much longer at the weight. Crawford's starting to get a bit. Crawford's starting to get a bit older, and I'm starting to think that this could be another Mayweather-Pacquiao situation, which I'm desperately keen to avoid. So I'm hoping that this fight gets made this year. I think that's a big one for me.
Yeah, and Ray, how do you think the fight would pan out if it were to happen?
I think if the fight was to go ahead, you see, even though I rate Crawford's achievements higher than Errol Spence, that fight for me would favour Errol Spence. However, the longer this the saga gets drawn out, I'm tipping Crawford because there's something telling me that Spence just may struggle at making 10 stone 7. I just think that when Crawford's in the southpaw stance, he looks absolutely phenomenal. He picks his shots off at ease. Crawford's his strengths fighting is in inside fighting. However, that's when he's at his most vulnerable. But he's up against a physically strong, active Errol Spence. This isn't a dud. I mean, when you I know Terence Crawford stopped his last 8 opponents at welterweight. but not many of them have been at the caliber of Errol Spence. You've had a couple of people like Khan and Brook. You can argue with it; they were shadows of themselves. I don't think Avin Essien was ever at elite level, to be honest with you. I think that win against Josh Kelly propelled him there in many people's eyes, but I don't actually think he was up there when he had previously stepped up. He'd always been beaten. I just think that, these are two special fighters, and it's just a shame that they're not given the same promotion, the same fan base, what their talents deserve. But nevertheless, it's a trade fight, and Josh knows what I mean by using that term. It's a trade fight, is like what we see on this channel. I think that's the best that there is, in my opinion.
No, I wouldn't disagree. It is a fight, and to be fair, I've backed Errol Spence for that since the conversation first started. But for me now, whispers last week, Errol Spence's people around him, or linked with his team, that he's not that hungry to fight full stop, and definitely doesn't want. He just wants to sort of earn as much money as he can for fighting as lesser names as possible. So that does worry me a little bit, and also the inactivity. He's had a few. We know obviously about the car crash he had and everything else. Bit of a worry there for me, but boxing historian, that's his number one wish, Davey. You with Ray on that one, mate. And that's also a great point. If Taylor gets through Catterall, would love to see him fight Lopez. Davey, just wonder, mate, how would you see that one playing out? Just a quick prediction there. And yes, Spence Crawford, talk to me.
Do you know what? With that fight, I find it quite interesting but I tip Terence Crawford to probably get a points decision, to be honest. And I feel as though he's just got that bit more about him. And I feel like he's well overdue a contest like this. So I feel like he will show up for it. And I feel like he knows now as well, like where the age that he's at as well. I think he's 35 years old as well. He knows this is kind of like his last big hurrah before he slowly starts to go down on the slope. So I feel like he will show up for that fight. And like Ray made a point earlier saying, what's his name? Errol Spence struggling with the weight. As the fight wears on, we know Terence Crawford, he's able to adapt to how the fight is going. And if you've already got weight issues and stuff, it's only going to deteriorate you as the rounds go on later on in the fight. So for me, I feel as though that will be a big telling factor. And that's why I tip Terence Crawford to just take the fight away, especially in those later rounds, and get a points win.
No, I think I'm possibly leaning a little bit with Yas there, but there's a few comments I've got to mention. Michael's made me laugh here. So
I know, I was laughing.
I wasn't speaking at what you were saying, Yas. I was agreeing with that.
Yeah, it was just laughing at me.
My number one wish is Lawrence Okoli versus Eddie Hearn bare knuckle. I'd love to see that as well myself.
If those two fight, the WBC will make a Rolex belt.
You just know they would as well. There's all sorts of chatter going on between them, but we know it is resolved, I wouldn't say peacefully now, and Lawrence Okoli's next fight will be March 11th with Boxer. But yeah, no, it is interesting. I'd love to know if Eddie Hearn's at any point said to him, give me that Rolex back. But
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We'll see. Addery's back. Thanks for the comment, mate. The WBC Bridgerweight division needs to be scrapped. Waste of time, pure garbage. He's not minced his words there, but Ray, I'll come to you quickly. What do you think? Because it's not caught fire like I think the WBC, and myself included, because there's a fair few heavyweights that were in and around that could have done Bridgerweight, and they've not bothered, have they?
Yeah, I think one of the things was it was because it was the WBC that kind of settled on it. Had it been the other three major bodies, potentially there could have been. But when you look at it, there was only a small number, really. There was about 5 or 6 heavyweights that could have fitted into that weight category. So the WBC would have just been better off doing a one-off tournament. That was my sort of answer to it. But if it got scrapped, I wouldn't bat an eyelid, to be honest. Alan Babbage it's tailor made for him, but it doesn't do anything for me. So yeah, I couldn't sum it up better than what Addery said.
No, totally agree. Guys, there's 10 of you in the chat now, so please do us a favour, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Stephen's back. The lightweight division is electric. So much talent there just now. I'm glad you've said that, and I haven't put Stephen up to this, because my number one wish this year is Devin Haney and Lomachenko. I just think I'm sick of seeing the lack of respect across the internet for Devin Haney. You know, let's not forget this is a guy who was comfortable being a big name on DAZN, really, and they were pushing him as much as they possibly could. He went against the grain, went over to Top Rank on lesser terms, which, you know, Eddie Hearn sort of outed him for it, and he admitted it himself. And Top Rank, you know, when Bob Arum was asked about it, he sort of had a little bit of a smirk on. Went to Australia, won the belts off Kambosos. And it's quite funny, when Kambosos beat Teofimo Lopez, it was like, oh, Kambosos is amazing. Now, because Haney's beat him, Kambosos gets slated, which, you know, for me, instead of knocking Teofimo Lopez, let's put some respect on Devin Haney's name for beating Kambosos so handily twice. Lomachenko is still a test, although jury's out after his last performance. That's the fight I want to see. Yas, is that fair, or am I being a bit of a Haney fanboy?
I think it's fair because for that fight, if you look at Devin Haney, his the way he's grown and he's become a superstar pretty much over the last few months or so for me. And obviously Lomachenko is the guy who is basically everyone called him the Matrix, innit? Everyone says this is the guy to beat, blah blah blah. And obviously now he's getting on in age. So I feel like it's the perfect fight, you know, to pass on the torch, to see can the young gun come in and beat the guy who's done it all, Olympic gold medalist, world champion, etc. So I feel like it makes for a perfect fight. And what a way for Lomachenko, if he's to pull it off, to shut up the haters, because he's had a lot of doubters on his back recently saying he's finished and whatnot. And I understand and I get their points, but I feel like he doesn't really get the credit that he deserves either. So I feel like that fight's perfect for both.
No, I totally agree. I mean, yes, I'll give you a second. I'll catch up on a few comments, but I want a quick prediction off you on that one. Chris Welch is back. Chris, pleasure to have you in the chat, mate. He's also coming with what he wants. Spence Crawford, we have just talked about that. That's his number one. Haney Loma. Me and Chris, I have to admit, we are quite like-minded on a few things across social media, so I'm not shocked at that one. And Beterbiev and Bivol, which I'm sure we will be coming on to as the show progresses. Davey's back. I said an Imran TV interview after the Taylor Ramirez Undisputed fight that Taylor Lopez would be 50-50. They've both shown different ranges of weakness. I'd agree with that as well. And I think we're going to see what Josh Taylor's got left, because what he's done is incredible. But that last performance against Catterall was woeful in reality. So I'm quite excited to see what he's got left, particularly at the weight. I think that's going to be the critical thing. Stephen's got a prediction here. Haney all the way. Loma will never be champion again. I like that, Stephen. It's very bold. And for me, I'm with Haney. I think as long as Haney stays at 135, which I think there is a lot of talk, this will be his last one there. I'd agree with you. I can't see Loma being a world champ again. Yes, just quickly before we hand it over to Ray, what's your prediction for it?
I feel like the size of Devin Haney will be too much. And you know, the kid, he's very good. He's got a very good jab. He's got too much for Loma. I feel like, and he'll take advantage of his physical advantages. And for me, he's also shown so much improvements in the way he relies on his jab, and that I feel like that alone can probably win him this fight. Fair play,
Ray. Prediction:
Haney points. I think Haney's jab's going to be the key for that fight. I think, as I said on a video I did with Yas, Lomachenko does his best work, sort of like short to mid range. He's not really a mid to long range boxer. If Devin Haney keeps him on the end of the jab, and I think Devin Haney's got one of the best jabs in boxing. That's how he's really developed. He's really learned to keep people on the outside of that jab. Devin Haney can do that and do some work off that jab, which we know he can do. He's starting to get better at that, tighten up. Lomachenko is going to do the angles, but he's slowing down at that. His footwork's slowing down. So I think there's a lot of advantages that lean towards Devin Haney, and he's physically bigger and stronger. Lomachenko struggles with somebody who can impose their physicality. So I think it's going to be the passing of the torch this fight.
No, I agree. And I'm just going to point out right here, now, since you joined this channel, you have inflicted upon me, and I've adopted it as my own, the 10-fight policy with a prospect.
Yeah.
But I have made you a Devin Haney fan, because I remember with that first Kambosos fight last year, you were predicting Kambosos was going to win.
I did, yeah.
To be honest, we fell out about it, but Now you're bigging him up. So you can thank me later on that one. I'm claiming it.
Yeah, whatever.
Stephen's back. And just think about this one a sec, guys. Fury should never have sacked Ben Davidson. Now, I've got my views on this, but Davies chipped in with his own. Ben's a technical trainer, all about boxing, but every fighter that usually leaves Ben usually goes to trainers that trains for knockouts. It's all about moving on in apprenticeship. Now, I couldn't agree with Davey myself anymore there. I think he's brilliant at what he does, but what he does is, for me as a coach, is fairly limited, and there's a lot better out there. Yes, thoughts on that?
I can't disagree with that point, to be honest. Me personally, I prefer aggressive style of boxing as well. So obviously it's really good to be defensively sound or whatnot, because you're trying to take as minimal damage. The aim is obviously to hit and not get hit. So it's good to be defensively sound or whatnot. But I feel as though for Fury, had he not have gone to Sugar Hill, would he be able to sit on his punches like he is doing right now? Would he be getting those knockouts? I don't think so. So I feel like it does have its perks. When you're already technically gifted like a Tyson Fury, you don't really need to work on, you don't really need a defensive coach in your corner, because that's already engraved within you. So I feel like for me, that was a perfect move for Tyson Fury. It elevated him, and now look at what he's gone to do.
No,
I definitely agree. Ray, your thoughts on that one, mate?
Yeah, there's something else I need to see after I've made my point. But Yas made an excellent point there about just two things really Tyson Fury left Ben Davison for. One was he wanted to utilize the right hand in terms of understanding he was physically bigger than Deontay Wilder. So why would he let Deontay Wilder push him back and bully him? So he wanted to use his right hand, and Sugar Hill brought that out of him. We all know Kronk Gym fighters under Emmanuel Stewart were famed for having a powerful right hand, backhand. And the other reason was, if you go back to the first fight, if you look at his corner, he brought in a tactical change, and he brought in the expertise of Ricky Hatton. And I think what he was trying to, in Freddie Roach as well. So what he was trying to do there was kind of say, Dillian White's done it recently when he had Xavier Miller. I think it's a case of using somebody else's experience, which would suggest Ben Davison, as good as he is still lacking in terms of top level experience. He'll get that, no doubt. He will get there, but I just think that was a very sound decision to go from Ben Davison to Sugar Hill.
No, I'd agree. I think, I understand why it was questioned at the time in terms of Ben Davison has sort of brought Fury back from the dead, if you like. Yeah. But no, I think it's completely valid now. Ray, you had another point there. So
yeah. So Little Penny he's put a comment saying there, and Happy New Year to you, Little Penny, by the way. He's put a comment saying really needs to have some boxing picture frames in his room. I've got a little couple for you. I've got an Anthony Joshua one. And I've got a Muhammad Ali one, so I've got quite a few.
There you go.
I've got some more as well, but they need to get put up. My missus is not letting me do it at the minute, so just to let them know that it will be getting put up.
I was going to say, on the same, I've actually got a signed Anthony Joshua boxing glove with all the authenticity stuff. Bought it a few years ago, and it's in the loft at the minute. The missus will not let me put that up in here.
Yeah. I'm going to have to wait until she goes on like a weekend away, like maybe on a Hindu or something like that, and then put them up.
We'll send her away with mine, and then we'll just have an absolute...
Yeah, we'll just have a ball putting them all up.
Little Penny's also put, what about Ryan versus Tank? Jail notwithstanding for Tank. Which is an excellent point, actually. And this does actually seem like one wish that is going to come true. All the talk is April in Vegas, which I'm very, very excited about this. And I'm going to be honest, and I'm not going to explain myself. I'm just going to say my prediction, and I'm going to throw it over to you, Yas. I think Garcia stops him with a left hook.
Why is? Oh yeah, you're not gonna.
I thought Yas was going to fall off his chair for a minute. Yeah. There, he's stunned.
Well, I said I'm not explaining myself.
Do you know what? For me, that fight is interesting because you got two aggressive style guys, right? And then you got Tank fighting out of that southpaw stance. You know, he's aggressive. He throws a lead left. But then you've also got Ryan, who's got fast hands. He's an aggressive guy himself, and he's got the height advantage. So for me, if he can establish that, earlier on in the fight and get into his head and really, get to work on him, and I feel like I do see him having success, and maybe potentially forcing like a TKO. But I feel like Ryan Garcia will probably win by a TKO mid to late rounds.
Interesting. Ray, predictions on that fight? How does it play out?
I'm going to go with Tank. I think Ryan Garcia gets the early rounds. I think his speed, speed of hand, speed of foot, in and out of range. Ryan's quite a clever boxer on the outside. We know how good Tank can be, but I think Tank's more of a counter puncher. I can't see him. Tank could be a slow starter, and he can give away rounds. He can easily be outboxed. I think what will happen is Ryan Garcia will make a mistake. I don't think Tank will set any traps. I just think Ryan Garcia will revert to type where he pulls away using his upper body and his chin's halfway in the air and he doesn't get his hands back in time. And I think that's where Tank just clocks him. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Garcia's winning the fight and then he just gets sparked out. So I'm just going to go with Tank stoppage.
I can see that as well, to be fair. But for me, I just think, obviously, Tank's a bit of a slow starter. Garcia's quite clever. And, the way Garcia sort of gets a fighter comfortable with coming forward with those, like, left-hand feints, and then he just whips in the left hook. We've seen it time and time again. And I think, in fairness, similarly to how people are talking about Tank's power, I just think it's one of those things, even though we all know that's what Garcia is more than likely going to try and do, talking about stopping it and actually being able to take the shot
two different
and
things.
stopping it are two very, very different things.
I get that. I just think that Tank got hit a lot in a couple of rounds, particularly against Garcia. But I think Tank holds a shot quite well. And I always say it's shots that an opponent doesn't see. They're the ones that get you. And Ryan Garcia's quick as anything. However, I also think that Ryan Garcia's defensively isn't as sound as what Tank is, and he also makes some mistakes. And in a fight like this, those are the bits. Those are the fine. It's about fine margins, and those are the bits that stand out and win somebody the fight. Who makes a mistake? Offensively, they're both as good as each other. But I just think that when Ryan wants to get out of range, Tank's deceptive, you see. You think you're out of range of what Tank's left hand, and boom, you're in there. He's got you. And now I think Ryan Garcia just has it in him to make that mistake because he's made it in every fight I've seen him fight so far.
No, definitely. I mean, to be fair, I hope these fights come off. If nothing else, I think it's fair to say the second part of last year, it was a bit boring because we were all sort of going the same way, whereas some of these fights we're talking about, we're a split camp on it, so I'm excited. Mickey C's back, Garcia and Tank, and then Jake Paul to get knocked out, which links very, very nicely to Chris's comment. It's all about the proper fights, not kindergarten fights in bloody YouTube nonsense. Now, I'd agree with this, and obviously, as we know, Lee Wood, Maurizio Lara has been rescheduled for February 18th, which is another one. I'm buzzing to see that rearranged. I think that's an incredible fight, and hats off to Lee Wood. But I did put on our post on social media, like, it's nice to see DAZN actually have some proper boxing on for a change. So I'm completely with you there, Chris, completely with you. He's also back on the Ben Davison topic. I think Ben Davison's done a great job, but he doesn't KO Wilder without Sugar Hill. Completely changed him as a fighter for me, finishing-wise. Totally agree with that. I think that's bang on. I've missed a fair few comments here. Oh, hang on. I'm not up for this. Davey, should all send photos in and the winners get them put up on display. I think Ray would love to do that, Davey. So I'll let Ray have that one.
Don't fancy any cameras being broken. Save that for my wedding.
Yeah. Well, Little Penny's back. You need to take control. He's right as well.
Yeah, I do, Little Penny. Yeah, I do.
He's bang on.
He's not lying, is he?
He's not, no. But let's be honest, anyone here, I've just got married and nothing's changed. She's still the boss. So as much as I'd like to deny it, Dave's also back. Garcia beats Tank. He said it from the start.
He has, to be fair. He has. Yeah.
Little Penny, Ryan can beat Tank if he survives past the 12 rounds. Interesting. And Ryan can outbox Tank because of his reach. That is an interesting point, actually, the size. Let's not forget Tank's he's not big at lightweight, is he at all?
I think he's 5'5" isn't Ryan Garcia something like 5'10"?
Yeah,
he's
a lot bigger,
Yeah, but like I said, at some point, Ryan's got the potential to beat anyone in that vision, if he keeps it long, if he keeps that discipline, then he stays on the outside. But he's got that mindset similar to what Amir Khan had. Although he's fundamentally better than what Khan is, you want to mix it up, and that's why you'll make a mistake. And like I keep saying, he leans back and his chin's halfway in the air, and you saw that he make that mistake against Luke Campbell. You saw him make it, in previous other fights. And you can't make that mistake against a puncher like Tank. Really.
No, I can see it. Stephen thinks Tank will expose this YouTuber. Harsh, but I think it's fair to say Garcia does have the platform because of his social media presence. Davey's back. Tank is a brawler looking for a big punch. Ryan had very quick hands and good footwork to match. Ryan is the better technical fighter. I've got to say, the fight that made me a bit of a believer in Garcia was the Luke Campbell fight, because I really honestly thought Luke Campbell would take him to bits. We all know about his amateur pedigree. I was excited for that. And I mean, it was the end for Luke Campbell, wasn't it? In fairness, he did retire, but that did make me a little bit of a believer. Tank may pull a Canelo on Khan. I could see that he's agreeing with you there. Yes, you obviously sort of went for that sort of vibe. And Chris, it was a very good performance against a dangerous opponent, but Garcia's more live than Hector Luis Garcia for me. I don't know if you guys would strongly disagree with that. Davies, it's an excellent point. Can we take a minute? Take his headset. This channel can't hide their money. I just want to point out, Davey, I did point this out right at the start. I don't know what's happened with this. Yas has completely lost his head. I think it was a Christmas present. Explain the headset, mate, because Yas came on with about 4 seconds to go before we were live and was just rocking that. So we couldn't drill him before we actually came on. So Yas, explain yourself to the people.
Literally, it's just my little brother's headset that he uses for the PlayStation. I thought, you know what, this looks nice. Let me wear it today.
Hang on a minute.
Nice.
So you've robbed your little brother. So he's crying in his bedroom now, but it's all right because you're happy.
Gave him a pound. Gave him a pound. It was all right. Does a trick.
Yes, his headset's not quite Gerwin price in the darts. If you know, you know that. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was ridiculous.
I saw that. Yeah, just a block out there. Yeah,
I can't believe we're talking Gerwin price in our boxing stream. Yes, bought Nick Khan's 20 million wedding chapel, which isn't finished yet.
Yeah,
he's loaded. Yes, man, he's loaded.
It's fair. He's down south in London. We all know about that living wage. There we go. Chris, we'll get back onto boxing. Let's try and regain some composure. Wood Lara, absolute blockbuster. I totally agree with that. I just sort of said how excited I am for it. Ray, what are your thoughts on that fight? Because obviously we never quite got round to discussing it before it fell apart last time.
Yeah, what a fight this is going to be. Both guys have got power. I believe Wood's the better boxer out of the two, but it depends how. I mean, this fight with it being in Nottingham depends how whether Lee Wood reacts to the crowd or not. I think Lara's pretty basic as a boxer. What I mean by that is, aside from his ruggedness and his power, I don't think he brings anything else that makes me think, oh, this kid's a special talent. I think he's very, very beatable, and I think he was all wrong for Josh Warrington. Josh Warrington was never going to beat Lara. They could fight 5 times, and Josh Warrington will lose 5 times. It's styles. Josh Warrington hasn't got the power and the physical strength to keep somebody like Lara off him. Josh Warrington's got no plan B. With Lee Wood, actually, he can box a bit. He can box a bit on the back foot. People forget he was originally with Brendan Ingle, and Brendan Ingle's lads tend to box. So I expect him. I don't, even though it's got all the makings to be another classic like what Wood Conlon was, I expect Lee Wood to be a bit more cautious in this fight. Don't get me wrong, he'll have a go when he needs to have a go, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him a little bit more around, moving around the ring and using his jab a little bit more.
I totally agree with that. I think he'll learn from Josh Warrington's mistakes, obviously, in their first fight. And I don't think there's any point, really, probably anybody at featherweight fighting fire with Maurizio Lara. It's just, I don't think it ends well for you. You're fighting his fight, and it's just recipe for disaster. Little Penny, a great comment. Nonito Donaire versus Chocolatito at 115.
Yes.
That's a curveball, but I like that fight. Both fighters, I think it's fair to say, back end of their careers. But as you've put there, both Hall of Famers and legends in their own right. Mm-hmm. Yes, would you like to see that one?
Yeah, I would. And I feel like I've probably got Chocolatito nicking that one, but I see it being quite close, to be honest.
No, totally agree. I'm with you there. Chris is back. Fury Chisora 4, Fury versus David Price incoming this year. Now, I'm going to go on record, and you can all hold me to this. It wouldn't shock me that much, but if those fights happen, I'm done with boxing. That's it. Retiring from the channel, no, I couldn't do it anymore. It would just, heartbreaking.
Are you recording this, Yaz?
Oh, it's live. Hold me to it. Hold me to it.
Yeah. You be doing the live first thing on the Monday afterwards, you.
No, I'd be done. There'd be nothing to talk about. It'd be ridiculous. I wasn't expecting this. How did the boxing channel originate from the start? We're not high school. Ray's much, much, much older than us. It's probably important to say, Little Penny.
Oh, yeah. Josh has been using it just for men. That's why.
So no, we all just met on the internet, which sounds a bit strange actually, but it's true. Little Penny. That's Ricky Hatton's headset when he had that press conference against Mayweather.
Yeah, he's got the Man United top underneath.
Yeah, I was going to say, yes, this will teach you to come on so late, because we could have warned you before, and this is a bad idea, mate. It's not the one. Laurie's undefeated in Britain. He is, yeah, but, I mean, it's not like he's been that active over here, so I don't know if we can look into that. I do think the Nottingham crowd will roar him on as well, to be fair. Lee Wood, they make a good atmosphere there, as we've seen with obviously Carl Froch and then Wood Conlon. Stephen's had to leave, but we tune in every week. Love your shows and views.
Mate, thanks for your comments, Stephen.
Yeah, pleasure to have you on, mate. Davey's back next Monday, yes. Ray will have a good chain following week. Josh will have gold teeth. Smash the like. You lads know how to take me. We do know how to take you. And, to be fair, the money is rolling in now. We can't deny it anymore. Yas has outed us. Got the Bentley outside. We're in. Little Penny back. Another fight 2023 KM versus Megan M. Again, it's a fight that I think people would pay to see. And it's been better than DAZN's schedule for the last couple of months. That would be an upgrade. So it's a step in the right direction. Raise Larry Merchant. He's older than that. Larry Merchant calls him dad.
Yeah. I took him in at night, you know what I mean?
There we go. Go on, Ray.
I take Larry to school. I'm old enough.
This always happens on the lives. It's just carnage. Let's get back to it. Little Penny's come back. This is it. Katie Taylor will beat Serrano in Ireland in 2023. Chris is also saying this. Now, this was my second wish. I want to see this. And controversially, I want it to be Taylor's last fight, because I know she said she's got years left in her, and I respect that. But for me, we've seen the skills. Decline sounds harsh, but the speed's definitely starting to slow. We're noticing her slow down. So I want to see her get the fight at Croke Park, sell it out. Serrano's the perfect, the first fight was incredible. It's history, it's legacy, especially if Serrano wins undisputed in February at her own weight. That adds a little bit more to it. But I want to see Taylor get this fight and then go out on a win. Yes. Is that fair, or am I giving Taylor a little bit of a misjustice?
No, I think it's fair because what else has she got left to do in boxing? And sometimes we've said it before, fighters they can be brave, too brave for their own good. Like, all these training camps, you're in there fight after fight. This fight as well, when it happens, is gonna turn into a scrap at some point. If like it will get popping at some point. She may take a few shots, etc. So why do you want to keep putting yourself through that? You've done what you needed to do. You've made your mega paydays. Like she's headlined a few times. She's been pretty much the driving force of women's boxing in Britain. So I feel like she should, especially at her age, after this fight, I feel like it would make sense to call it a day, but we'll see whether she does or not.
No, I totally agree. Ray, you were nodding when I was saying it. You in agreement? They've gone. Boys have gone. Not too sure what's happened there. But I think that's the important bit, with Taylor and Serrano. That fight needs to happen. I'd also add that I'd quite like to see Clarissa Shields back. The boys are back. It's all chaos. What happened there, you two?
I've got no idea. You asked me a question and it just went off. But
yeah, that's anyway. What I heard.
But I agree with the point about Katie Taylor being on a decline. I think we've seen it in about 2 or 3 fights previously before she fought Amanda Serrano. I think I tipped Amanda Serrano to win. I didn't realize just how much the weight would make a difference. I thought Amanda Serrano was excellent in that fight, but then again, so was Katie Taylor. That 5th round was phenomenal. Classic round. But I think for me, if that fight happens again, I could see it going to Amanda Serrano. I think it gives Amanda Serrano time to physically get used to that weight. I just think her punch output could be a little bit too much for Katie Taylor, who's got a tremendous chin, tremendous heart, but she's slowing down. She's getting easy at the hit now. I don't know. I worry. I'm starting to worry a little bit with Katie Taylor. I'm worried about Amanda Serrano fight. She's made a legacy for herself. I just think, you're looking at somebody who's just as tenacious, just as aggressive, younger and fresher. I'm not too sure that's a good a good mix for Katie Taylor. I don't think that's what she needs now.
I hear you, but forget boxing. I'm sorry, it's gone wrong again. Fair play, Ray. You kept a straight face there. I lost it for a minute. Yassi's headphones and been using Ray's leggy and cut him off. I was just going to cut you off and say, Ray, stick another 50p in the meter, would you?
Oh, you've got to love the banter.
You have.
Yeah.
Chris came back with an interesting point, actually. I want to see Eubank Jr. finally fight for a world title, which he's been saying he was going to do for years. I'm not interested in his poker and hotel apartments nonsense. I'd agree with this. And I do love how Chris just doesn't mince his words.
This is how it is.
But he's right in this. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, the Conor Benn fight we were excited for. I understand why you would take that fight. And I'm excited for the Liam Smith fight. I am. I think that's a proper fight. But it feels like 3 years ago now, Eubank Jr. was like, right, I'm here. I want world titles and nothing but. And ever since then, it's just not on. I mean, am I being harsh there, Yass? Or is Chris and I bang on? He needs to step up.
He does need to step up, and I feel like he has underachieved in his career. Obviously, from my opinion, it was never going to be the fighter that his dad was, but you do expect him to do more. There's always been talk, but barely much action. He's still right now. He's still talking about. I feel like I've even heard him mention Golovkin recently. So it's like, come on, you need to get on with your career now. Now it's now or never. To be honest, he's 32, 33 years old. He needs to get on and fight for a title or something soon.
No, I'd agree. I mean, he's talking a lot about Golovkin, isn't he? So as long as he comes through Liam Smith safe and sound, which I really don't know. I'll keep going back and forwards on that. I thought Smith at first. Now I'm thinking Eubank. I don't know. We'll see. We'll get
That's
onto
what
that
makes a
next
great
week.
fight, though, Josh, isn't it? Those fights where one day you're waking up thinking Smith will win this, the next day you're waking up thinking Eubank will win it. That's what makes a proper 50-50 fight, in my opinion.
No, 100%. It's a brilliant fight. I mean, Chris is back. I love Eubank Jr.'s humour. Don't get me wrong. Wanting to back up his point. I'd agree. I think, and also we did talk about it at our end of year stuff. I think what a bizarre 2022 for Chris Eubank. You know, he fought once early doors against Liam Williams in February in Cardiff. Then obviously the whole Conor Benn saga. But his popularity has gone through the roof. It's literally the bad guy turned good guy, isn't it? But I'd agree. He's talking about Golovkin. He needs to get the Golovkin fight over the line and start fighting for a world title. I'm not being funny, yes, but the headphones are bright. Rigging the me. Yes, just a quick one, mate. Are you going to be bringing the headphones back?
Don't know. I feel like the viewers like them, so they might make a return, innit?
The electricity board don't though. Their meter's just like it's gone to 100, hasn't it? Yeah, he's taking the piss. Yes, is. Little Penny's brought a great question here, and this is another one that I think whispers are that we're going to see it as well. Possibly not at Wembley. There's talk of Emirates or even the O2. In fairness, but what about Canelo Ryder in May?
I mean, I'm sort of like, you know, I'm still surprised that there's rumors with credibility that this fight could take place in the UK. Just to see Canelo on our shows is you know, is fascinating, isn't it? It's always nice. I mean, we've had Crawford early in his career. We've had Lomachenko. We've had Usyk. We've had Bivol. We're going to get Beterbiev. So to get Canelo, we'll probably have the vast majority of people on the pound for pound list coming over to our shows. So it's just telling us. I'm not saying that, you know, we are now the main focal point of boxing, but it's always good to see people at the top end of the sport come and play their trade on our shows.
No, I totally agree. And on this fight, yes, I'll ask you about it. While it's great to get Canelo over to the UK, for me, and John Ryder's earned his shot, don't get me wrong, and we all, you know, general consensus is that he was sort of on the end of a harsh decision back when he fought Callum Smith. Mm-hmm. But for me, Ryder is too slow. You know, I did score it for him by a round, but I remember Ray disagreeing with the Danny Jacobs fight. I think Canelo gets John Ryder out of there, or John Ryder takes an absolute pasting. What do you think?
I can't. I just see it a one-way beatdown, to be honest. And also, I feel as though this is obviously it's excellent for John Ryder. He gets his payday. You know, he's been in the game for a long time, etc. This is like what a way to go out. But I don't see him really even putting a dent on Canelo, to be honest. Yes, he may be there, but if I'm honest, I feel like he'll probably be used as a punch bag in that fight.
No, I agree. Ray, you agreeing with us, or
yeah, I can't. Unfortunately for John, I can't see him getting into the latter half of the fight. I think Canelo takes him apart.
No, totally agree. We've got Chris, Eubank and Smith, clash of different personalities. Eubank's humour versus the Scouser. Davey's back. Liam Smith is the better all-round boxer. The problem is Eubank Jr. has never been knocked down in his career, so I don't know if Liam can outbox Eubank for 12. That is literally, I mean, I do usually agree with most things you say in fairness, Davey, but that is absolutely where I'm at. I think it's a struggle. Chris wants to see Canelo Benavidez. Now, I know, Ray, you've been vocal about this before, about Benavidez being a little bit one-dimensional. I agree with you. I think Canelo takes him apart as well, don't you?
Yeah, I don't think Benavidez is as good as what people are telling us he is. Defensively, he's just too easy to hit. He just walks forward. He throws a lot of punches. I don't think he hits that hard. And I think he looks to overwhelm his opponent. I think he's tailor-made for Canelo. Canelo can sit back. He doesn't have to move his feet. He uses his upper body movement, which is absolutely fantastic. It's his feet which let him down. And he can just pick holes at Benavidez, who'll just walk forward onto shots. And I think eventually he'll get him out. I think Benavidez will probably have a decent chin, but I think Benavidez, we know he's not great at making the weight down at 68. It's not going to be at 175, and I think he'll take him out. I really do.
No, I agree. And I think as we just start to wind down here, guys, I've got one wish, and I think Ray's going to laugh in my face, but I'm standing by it. Can we get a big card in the Midlands? I'll take Birmingham. We've got stadiums around here. There could be a stadium fight at Villa Park. Not that Aston Villa is particularly where I want to go. But I am sick to death. All the boxing goes down south. It's in London, which is so overpopulated. And it makes me laugh that promoters are now whinging about how overpopulated shows in London are. Or now we're seeing a fair bit of growth of boxing up in the northeast next to Ray. And I'm sat here in the Midlands. I'm getting nothing. And I'm sick of it. I will even apologise to Frank Warren for all the hateful things that Ray and Yas have said about him if he brings a card to Birmingham, because I want to see it. I'm sorry, but these two are getting all the boxing. I'm not asking them for their opinion because they'll just laugh at me. I'm sick of it, and I want big boxing in the Midlands.
But do you know what? There could be fights in the Midlands. You've got 3 stadiums there. You've got Wolverhampton's, Birmingham, and Aston Villa.
You don't want to go at Molyneux.
It still holds about what, 25,000+, right?
I think it's just over 30 because they did the one stand.
All right then, but you got Villa Park, nice venue, and Birmingham's as well. So there could be decent fights there made, but we'll see.
Thank you, Yas. You with me on this? I'm not going to ask Ray. He's going to mock us, and then he'll start telling us about. I don't know what's happening with the cameras here. He'll start telling us all about his the big stadiums that they've got up in the northeast, or Stadium of Light. It's your favourite place, isn't it, Ray?
Yeah, less said about that, the better.
Little Penny's back. Why does Eubank Senior always speak like he's a Rhodes Scholar from Oxford University? I don't actually know why that is. Ray, a man at your time of life might be able to answer that. Why? Other than
I think it was to do with so when he came up, when he was he came over. I think he was originally born in Jamaica. I understand, and when he came over to the UK, he was really fascinated by British culture, and he wanted to be like a gentleman. He had a difficult upbringing. I know he was kicked out of schools a lot, and he went to go and live in America, and that's where he started to develop and learn how to box. And I think it just kind of come from there. He just wanted to present himself as a gentleman, and he always looked to be well dressed and well spoken, and it stuck, to be fair to him.
There you go. We're all learning. Chris is back. Thoughts on Demetrius Andrade? I want to see him in a proper fight in a step up. I totally agree. I mean, Ray's shaking his head there, but for me, Andrade and Little Penny is channeling what I'm thinking. Most disappointing career of our generation, and it sounds bizarre to say, doesn't it? As 2-weight world champ, but it's just not delivered, has it, Ray?
No, it hasn't. And for me, I've got to say the same about Billy Joe Saunders as well. There's a group of kids where they've had all the talent in the world, and for whatever reason, they'll blame promoters, they'll blame whatever. They just have, they look back in their careers and I don't even think people look back and remember them. Demetrius Andrade, like his resume has been absolutely shocking. 2-world world champion against who?
I can't argue with it as well. And I think he's joined that club a bit with Benavidez, Charlo as well, to an extent of just let's stand and call for Canelo instead of fighting each other and earning the Canelo fight. It's just bizarre. Andrade now, for me, his next fight is do or die for him. It's got to be a big name. But the trouble is now he seems to be going down the PBC route. Mm-hmm. That's not going to land him the Canelo fight. And let's be fair, after the last Zach Parker performance with Parker Ryder, I bet he wishes he'd have fought Zach Parker as well, because then he'd have been mandatory to Canelo and he could have banged the drum a little bit, and rightly so, as opposed to just calling him out. Davey's got an interesting question. Why do you guys think Junior's never been in big fights for legit titles? Do you think he's just content with his finance, and if a title comes up, it's just a bonus now? I don't know. For me personally, just quickly, I mean, he fought, obviously, George Groves at the time for the WBA super middleweight. I went to that fight, and he obviously, the right decision, obviously, with Groves winning. But I don't know. I think it's just been he's chased the most money fights. I mean, he was in a decent position with the WBA at 160, wasn't he? To enforce a mandatory shot. It never happened. It went to Murata. Obviously, he fought the De Gale fight. I think he's just picked the payday fights. I don't know if you disagree with that, Yas.
Nah, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. I feel like for him, it's more about the money, and he knows he's got a big name. So regardless, his name's always going to kind of be relevant. So I feel like it's just about cashing in, really. And if he gets a title, then fair play.
Totally agree. Chris is back. One more wish Jamal Charlo takes his injury-free vaccine. Yeah, I'm not adding anything to that at all. Little Penny, Jamal Charlo versus Triple G. Wouldn't mind that. This is actually an interesting point. Yeah, Billy Joe Saunders did get the Canelo fight. So, I mean, I'm happy for Billy Joe that, he can go off into the sunset with
a lot of money.
Yeah, because at least there's that.
Yeah, I'll settle at that. I just kind of think his career promised a bit more, particularly when he turned over.
100%.
But yeah, I'll settle with that. That's a fair point.
No, 100%. And again, Little Penny's bang on the money. Andrade's biggest win is Liam Williams, which, let's be fair, that's probably not the biggest win that's going to age too well, I wouldn't have thought, for me personally, obviously after the Eubank fight. And then he's, been out the ring since. Interesting point, and this is a huge, huge fight that we'll be moving on to in the next couple of weeks. Yard's going to get smashed. Leon, good to have you here, mate. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Just quickly, Ray, we'll come on to it, so I don't need to give us a breakdown, but are you still on the boat that Yard's going to get smashed?
Yeah, I think Beterbiev, for me, it's 50-50 between him and Bivol, who's the best at 175. With Yard's style, it's just going to be very similar to the Callum Johnson Beterbiev fight. I think, they don't need a ring, they're going to need a phone booth. I know Yard will throw lots of feints and, upper body movement, try and use some angles, but I don't think that's going to work against Beterbiev. Beterbiev showed he's really clever cutting off the ring, and I think he'll. Anthony Yard doesn't like the work. He doesn't like to throw a lot. He's not. He's very, very economical with what he throws. I think Beterbiev will throw the kitchen sink at him. He throws hard, accurate, straight shots. Anthony Yard's not going to like that, so he's going to stop Anthony Yard.
Totally agree. This is the last point. We need to get this one wrapped up. Chris, I've seen AJ rumoured opponent. I think it's right for AJ. He needs to get back on the winning track, but he preferred Wallin or White. Now, if people haven't seen today, it seems that AJ is going to be fighting Dempsey McKean, the Australian heavyweight. He's ranked number 11, I believe, with the IBF. And they reckon that fight's going to obviously take place at the O2 in April. Personally, I don't mind it as a comeback fight. What we've seen of Dempsey McKean, his last 3 or 4 fights on DAZN, I think AJ takes him apart within 4 rounds. He's quite slow and clumbersome. And, particularly in his last fight when we saw his power shots landing, they didn't seem to be doing too much damage, in with effectively journeymen. So I think Joshua takes him out. But I would agree, I think that's the confidence boost that AJ is going to need going into a big second half of the year with potential White. Obviously, the Wilder fight keeps getting talked about. Yes, we know you're into the heavyweight division. You agreed with this, or did you want to see a bit more from AJ?
No, I'm fine with it. One, because AJ needs, I wouldn't say a knockover job, but he does need somewhere to start off with his confidence. Secondly, Dempsey McKean, he's roughly around the same size as AJ, and AJ tends to fight better with guys his size or bigger. So, we could see that aggression come out of him rather than being cagey and all that kind of stuff. So I'm right with it. And I see him stopping him within like 5 rounds.
Ray, just quickly, what's your predictions for that one if it happens?
Yeah. I'd be disappointed if it went to points for AJ. I think this is what AJ needs just to get himself back believing in himself. That's the most important thing.
100%. Little Penny, what about AJ versus White? That's a tune-up fight for AJ now. That's harsh. Obviously, we had Jermaine Franklin on the channel. Guys, if you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. Yas did a great interview with him. And it's harsh for me to say White's no longer dangerous. I think we need to see him back. I think we all wondered what he got left after Fury. Then obviously was trying different tactics with Buddy McGirt in the corner, which, you know, we as a channel generally disagreed with some of that advice. But for me, I think they're going to build towards AJ White probably in July, August, and it's going to be in a stadium. That's what they're going to push for, hence getting AJ back out now so he's not had another year out the ring. We'll wrap it up there, guys. Davey, cheers for another great night, lads. Smashed it. See you next Monday. Well, this is it now, guys. We want to do something a bit different this year with the lives. We want you guys to have some input. What do you want discussing on the lives? Because we got a bit bored, I'll be honest, of just doing reactions and discussing fights that happened on the weekend. So we want your input. So obviously on our various social media pages listed in the description, message us on there, comment on here. But next Monday night, what do you want discussing? We want to do something different, something a little bit more creative. So stay tuned, guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And don't forget, tomorrow night, 8 p.m, Tommy Frank's interviews dropping ahead of his British title fight with Jay Harris. Cannot wait for that one. So cheers, boys.